Being an Amiibo collector in the modern day is kind of depressing. Back at its height from 2014 to 2017, most retailers had at least a decent assortment of figures, but almost a decade after their introduction, you would be hard-pressed to find an Amiibo figure of even Mario himself. If you're just getting into the hobby, good fucking luck. You might be able to pick up the rare and elusive Metroid Dread 2-pack and then wonder why every retailer holds at least one copy of this and one of Steve and Alex.
I am what you may call a bit of a connoisseur of sorts, which is to say that when I see such a rare specimen out in the wild, I can't control my urges.
However, the last few years have been rather fucking dry, but 2024 in particular has shaped itself up to be what I have come to call. So for some reason, Amiibo came back in a huge way this year, and it all started with the release of the final fighter of Smash Ultimate, Sora. But here's where things get a little interesting, at least for me. As I'm sure a few of you will be quick to point out, this is not my great home state of New Jersey.
And for anyone who just found out that I live in New Jersey and dislike that fact, go fuck yourself.
But yes, from mid-January to the end of April, I will almost exclusively be living and working in Washington, D.C. Now, obviously that means I'm a decent ways away from my normal base of operations, and I'll pretty much be here for the next few months. And during my time here, there are two major Amiibo releases expected to drop. Obviously, the aforementioned Sora in February, but also a Zelda restock containing Smash Series Sheik, Wolf Link, and the Guardian, which I already have, sometime in early March. And although that would be a total of 3 new Amiibo, compared to the releases of past years, this is quite a lot. So after coming to the realization that the World War II and Lincoln Memorials are much closer to where I live, or well, rather much easier to get to from where I live, I obviously gave them a quick visit. The World War II Memorial is probably my favorite memorial out of them all, and since I had never been inside the Lincoln Memorial, it was finally nice to see this thing in person. But once I was done doing that, I began to make the pilgrimage to the nearest Best Buy, and holy fuck. This was a long walk, but after probably a good hour or two, I finally made it to the nearest Best Buy, which is also right next to the nearest Target. So what's interesting here is that both the Target and Best Buy are located in the same building with a few other larger stores. It's basically like a mall with like 4 or 5 huge retailers inside as opposed to a bunch of smaller shops, and I actually find this to kind of be cool. Now, you're probably wondering why neither of these stores had any Sora Amiibo, and well, that's because Sora apparently releases on February 16th, not the 3rd. I would love to tell you that this was a trip just to scope out the local Best Buy and Target, but the sad reality is, I'm a fucking idiot. In the past 2 weeks between the initial Best Buy trip and now, I have finally pinned down when I will be going home for visits. Now, obviously once this thing is all said and done, I'll be back home for good. I don't want to be back and forth from DC to New Jersey that frequently because, let's be honest, that would kind of kill the whole experience and point of me being here. But unfortunately, homesick motherfuckers will still be homesick, so at least a quick trip or two is warranted. And the first of those trips is scheduled for President's Day weekend, which just so happens to be the weekend that Sora actually releases. So the plan is this: the train back home boards immediately after I get done work, which means once I'm done there, I'll have to go right to the train, which thankfully the metro line I take every day takes me right through Union Station where the train is leaving. Okay, technically I'm leaving work a little early to make sure I'm on time for the train, but the same principle applies. Now, for obvious reasons, I am packing all of my things tonight to make sure everything is ready for tomorrow, and so I can go to Target before work to grab Sora. For me, work starts at 10 and Target opens at 8, so suffice to say, if this is planned correctly, I have a decent amount of time. So far, the plan is going well. I woke up around 7ish, showered, got dressed, and made my way to Target, with me hopefully getting there a little after it opens because I'm not a weirdo. And I'll be honest with you, this was a very cool experience. When I first came here 2 weeks ago, this place was completely mobbed with people, but right now, there's practically nobody here. Now, the reason that Target is, well, my Target is because it opens at 8. Best Buy is my obvious preferred retailer of choice when it comes to these things, but that doesn't open until 10, which is the exact time that I have to be at work. And this is not looking good. Shit. Long story short, Target didn't have them. I asked one of the workers if they had gotten any shipments, and they told me that they were unsure, and pretty much that all that they had out was all that they had. So all of that was for nothing, but not a downright terrible experience. Did I wake up early for nothing? Yes, but in return, I got a really unique experience that I wasn't anticipating on getting and probably will never get again. But as for me now, I am heading back to my apartment, grabbing my luggage, and making my way to work. And then, I was granted with one of the most amazing things ever. A second chance. So because the time that I usually get done work is very close to when my train is supposed to leave, I asked in advance to leave early just to make sure that I was at the train on time. And as it turns out, we were pretty slow that day. So because they definitely were not going to have any jobs that I could complete by the time I needed to leave, they cut me loose much earlier than expected, which means that I can now go to Best Buy and give it a shot. Now, walking in, I didn't have a lot of confidence, especially given what was out on display. But because I was determined, I asked one of the workers if they had gotten any shipments, and to my surprise, they actually did. But, and this is a big but, most of these were pre-orders for in-store pickup, which meant that they couldn't sell them to me, except for one. And my god, what a triumph. Now, the guy I spoke to did also come out with a Joker amiibo as well, which I was also ready to buy, but unfortunately it ended up being another one of those in-store pickup pre-orders. Either way, just being able to get Sora like I intended was more than good enough for me, and after that huge triumph, I made my way to Union Station and began my journey back home.
The giant what?
What are we doing here?
Oh, so what we're doing here, so I read a little article in Nintendo Life that was recommended to me. Apparently along with Sora and the Joker fuck up from yesterday, apparently a bunch of stores are getting restocks of Solid Snake from Metal Gear, Sephiroth, and Mega Man, but I already have Mega Man, so that's why we're here.
They're not gonna have them.
Yes, they are.
They're gonna have the Dread amiibos. They're not gonna have anything
Those
else.
are fucking rare to find. No. All right, come on, like you, Sephiroth.
I already have that one. I bought the last one.
Are you
They have
serious?
no more in existence.
Really? Okay,
Because I've never
what about
seen-
Snake? What about Snake?
Never seen a Solid Snake amiibo in my life.
Neither have I. We're gonna see
I
it
don't
today.
think they
We're gonna
exist.
fucking see it today.
I think they're a psyop from Japan. But they don't exist.
Let's go, gentlemen. Yo, no way they have his brother. They have his... Dude, they don't even have the Dread ones.
You know what's bad when they don't even have Dread?
Man, what do they have?
They have jack shit.
Fuck off. I love Dick. I meant Dick's Sporting. They have a good selection of anything you need.
Right, yeah. Shut the fuck up. Fucking hype. So fucking hype. You said they weren't gonna have what, Ryan?
No, they did actually have something once.
Oh, really?
They even have like Ganon as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my god, they had fucking Banjo. They didn't even mention that at all. I don't fucking care about Joker or Terry, but Jesus Christ. So at this point, I was more than satisfied with the amiibo that we had found, which mainly just means Banjo. Anything else really was just a bonus, but because it had been a while since I had been home and really did this with Krim and Ryan, we still decided to explore Target, Walmart, and our local mall just for the hell of it, even if we knew that we were almost certainly going to find
Absolutely nothing.
did you get this, huh?
Oh my god, today was a hell of a haul. Joker from Persona, Terry from Smash Brothers, and of course my crown jewel, fucking Banjo and Kazooie. My god. Oh, I'm so fucking happy, man.
So what happened to the Solid Snake and Sephiroth restocks? Weren't you supposed to get those instead? No.
So after my misadventures with Amiibo back at home, I started to get a little nostalgic for some of the original Amiibo figures when I got back to DC, and I'm starting to think my Pikmin needs a friend. And because I used eBay very early on for some old Lego when I first moved in, I decided to turn back to it for a more classic Amiibo. Now, on eBay, there were a ton of different options to choose from, but I ended up going with this Pikachu mainly because the price seemed reasonable and it also seemed to be high in quality. Also, I've never been a Pokemon guy like at all, so that really didn't factor into this decision at all. It was more the fact that this particular figure is one of the most iconic Amiibo out there, and boom, already here. And this was a mistake. What the fuck is this? So, suffice to say, this figure is a fucking mess. Scratches and scuff marks all over the place, and I don't even know what the fuck is on its base. This is the first time I've ever bought an Amiibo from eBay, and it's probably the last. The last few days have been filled with a lot of news about the Amiibo restock. So originally today was just supposed to be the Zelda Amiibo restock. So that was going to include Smash Brothers Series Sheik, Wolf Link, and then the Guardian, which I already have. But apparently yesterday, because I follow Amiibo News on Twitter, apparently a bunch of the Smash series are getting released, and it looks like it might be for Mario's 10th, or Mario Day, not Mario's anniversary, so March 10th. But apparently those restocks I believe are supposed to be happening today. So Smash series Mario, Yoshi, Wario, Rosalina, Bowser, which I already have, Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, apparently Shulk, and maybe Mewtwo. So after work, I'm going to make a bunch of stops and see what we can actually find. Hopefully, we find something. At bare minimum, I believe I will find at least some of the Zelda restock, which will be nice. But if I can find some of the others, that would not only break my wallet, but that would also be really cool. So because of the now increased amount of potentially restocked figures, I thought it would be best to visit a much bigger variety of stores than I had initially planned. Once I got out of work, I made my way back to Columbia Heights, which is where I got that last minute Sora. So naturally, I thought that lightning could strike twice, and shit. This is not looking good. Thankfully though, Target is literally down the hall. Hopefully they'll have shit, they have nothing either. Well, this is a little worrying. I get one store being a dud, but 2 in a row might mean this thing is a total bust, to the point that I'm starting to have some doubts about the original Zelda restock. So hopefully as I make my pilgrimage to Pentagon City Mall in Virginia, that isn't the case. I should also probably explain how I ended up going here as opposed to, somewhere else in DC. So not that long ago, I had the inclination to Google if there was any LEGO stores near me because so far the only new LEGO I've gotten has been exclusively from eBay. And it turns out there is one in Virginia, which may sound super far, but in reality is like a 15-minute train ride. And this place is pretty cool. The train literally stops right at the entrance, which I personally find really neat, and it just so happens that there's a GameStop as well. And thank God they got hit by the restock because I was starting to lose a ton of hope. They ended up having all 3 of the original rumored restocks, the Guardian, which I already have, Wolf Link, and Sheik, as well as a bunch of Joker, Terry, and Banjo amiibo, which is just amazing to see, especially considering that most amiibo stock up until this point has literally just been one of these 2. So to see some actual variety here is nice. Now, being the greedy fuck that I am, this may not be enough, and it just so happens that there is a Best Buy in a neighboring complex across the way, so of course I had to give it a look, and of course I came out empty-handed, but all in all, just to get these 2 was honestly good enough for me, and honestly, just the adventure itself is more than enough. Sure, I can order most of these online, but most of the fun for me is going out and hunting these things down. One of the things that I have finally started to do while living here in DC is getting a bunch of apps for places I tend to frequent a lot. It all really started with the stupid free McNugget deal at the Capitals game, and from there I've decided to take advantage of it at a ton of more places, most recently with Best Buy. I'll be honest, I don't know all of the perks of the Best Buy app so far, if there even is any, but I did read online that they had some amiibo that I do not currently have. Now, Byleth is one of those figures that I've definitely encountered in public before, but it's fucking Byleth. But now I'm at a point that I have a good amount of the figures I would actually want out of the Smash series, so I think it's time I start collecting some of the others. And with Byleth being like $10 on the Best Buy app, this was a complete no-brainer. So today, I'm on my way to go pick up Byleth. I didn't really mention this before, but given the choice between the Columbia Heights Best Buy where I got Sora and this one in Pentagon City, I much more prefer the Pentagon City one. Honestly, when I made my first journey out to the Columbia Heights Target and Best Buy, I got kinda homesick. Conversely, when I first visited this Best Buy in Pentagon City about a week ago, I felt more at home. My guess is because of the general atmosphere of each store. The stores at Columbia Heights get the job done, but they feel like they were more squished into the space as best as possible, whereas the Best Buy here in Pentagon City feels more like an actual store that I have at home. Or maybe I'm just weird. Anyway, Byleth for $10. A lot has definitely changed within the last month and a half. Obviously, I've gotten to see and do a lot of new things, but considering that that's kind of what the whole experience has been like, it hasn't been too out of the ordinary. Probably the biggest thing is that today is my last official day here in Washington, DC. I'm not gonna lie, it feels kind of weird that tomorrow I'll be making my way back home permanently, but I'm also kind of looking forward to it as well. And after work, I plan to take a couple of stops to a few places that I frequented while being here, which is mainly just the White House because it's around the corner, and after that, one last quick trip to Columbia Heights to pick up the last amiibo while I'm here. So after getting Byleth, I also read that Cloud would also be restocked at Best Buy, and I thought, why not? And honestly, there isn't too much to say here, but it does almost perfectly bookend this amiibo journey that I've had here in DC. From what started as me getting lucky with Sora in a sea full of pre-order pickups to ending it off with actually pre-ordering and picking up Cloud at the same Best Buy is something I find to be kind of neat. And finally packing these things up, it is cool to see all the figures that I've collected while here in DC. It's funny to think that this is more amiibo than what has been readily available for the last few years, but still a neat little side journey that followed me throughout most of my stay. I've been back for about a month at this point, and I've definitely been noticing some interesting trends. Firstly, a bunch of the restocks we got while I was in DC have remained pretty well stocked, and secondly, more and more figures are starting to reappear. After we golfed today, we decided to stop by this nearby GameStop, and to my surprise, Rob, Duck Hunt, Charizard, and Pikachu were all there. And of course, I had to make up from the eBay fuck up from a few months ago. But it is really interesting to see all of these figures back on store shelves. Granted, I own all of them, but still very interesting nonetheless, especially when it comes to Rob, Duck Hunt, and later Game & Watch, because back in the day, these three were exclusive to GameStop through the Retro 3-pack, so to see them being sold separately is kind of cool. And it didn't stop there, because on my birthday we found that there was another Zelda restock, this time exclusive to Target. Now, I'll be honest, I definitely heard about this back when I was in DC, but thought it was similar to Cloud being online only, but no, here's Smash Series Ganon and Zelda out in the wild. No Shulklo, that still seems to be an online exclusive, but still, to see these two iconic figures from the initial waves of Amiibo is still amazing to see, and it allows me to complete the Zelda trio for a second time. Now, throughout most of the time that I've been back, I've made quite a few trips to my local retro video game store, Level Up. Now, obviously I cannot necessarily depend upon this place for new Amiibo consistently, but recently they had Ryu, and today they had Samus and Zero Suit Samus. All three of these figures were not only in basically brand new condition, but also $10 each, which is why I prefer to buy used Amiibo from a store rather than eBay. I've bought quite a few Amiibo from the store, and even though I had that eBay fiasco back in DC, that by no means I think the secondhand market is something to avoid entirely. More or less, it's a lesson about being cautious on where you buy secondhand things. From my experience, most of these kinds of stores do properly vet each figure it takes in to make sure it's at least of decent quality, and in the case of Level Up, they don't beat you over the head with pricing. In fact, I would say that their pricing is practically a steal, and what's funny is that I would end up encountering brand new versions of these figures on New York, New York. For as close as I am to the city and how closely tied my family is to the city, I haven't been to New York City that often in my life. This is probably my third or fourth time in my entire life going, so when me and my parents decided to go see Back to the Future on Broadway, we decided to make a whole day out of it. And I think you can see where this is going. The Nintendo World Store in New York City. This is a place I have always wanted to go, and wow, what an experience this is. Definitely a lot smaller than I imagined, but still a very cool experience. And of course, the Amiibo selection. So I'm not too knowledgeable about their offerings before this, but my god, this selection is huge, with them having some figures I have never seen in person before. I didn't feel like breaking the bank in front of my parents, so I limited myself to just 4 Amiibo, although I could have easily bought way more. Anyways, I decided to go a little more classic here, going with Luigi, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, and Diddy Kong, all of which were ones I have always wanted to get my hands on. The others can certainly wait. It seems like every few weeks, a few more figures seem to trickle out into the world. So, on today's routine GameStop drive-by, I was able to find Peach, Daisy, and Ness. A bit of a strange trio, sure, but a welcome one at that. But what's even cooler is that Target also had a few Peach and Daisy figures stocked as well, which means for the most part, this is a pretty well spread out release. In recent years, Amiibo stock has become rather unpredictable, but also quite barren. Sure, there's a few releases every once in a while, but they either disappear as soon as they come out, or stay on store shelves far longer than they ever should. But it seems like Nintendo is starting to find their footing with Amiibo once again. Out of all the figures I've collected so far this year, some have remained readily available, while others are a blink and you'll miss it event. As someone who's kept up with Amiibo for much of its darker years, to see anything at all is enough to have a little glimmer of hope. But all of this is more than I could have ever asked for, and it looks like this may be a continuing trend for Nintendo. Granted, I doubt we'll ever see Amiibo reach the heights it did back from 2014 to 2017, but for the first time in a while, it seems like Amiibo has a bright future ahead of it. Hey everyone, thank you all for watching this video. As I'm sure most of you could point out, this has taken quite a while. Originally this was supposed to be just a DC only thing, and then it just kind of evolved as I continued to procrastinate on it. But hey, I'm glad it's finally out and that you guys are watching it. So thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you later.